Thank you. Roll call, please.
Charks. Here. Smith.
Here.
Sabers.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Dosher.
Here.
McCardle.
Here.
Barrington. Allen.
Here.
We have a quorum. Item 5, approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items. Is there anything you wish to remove? I will point out that we do have a volunteer board appointment. Mr. Joe Schlimgen will be appointed to the Golf and Cemetery Board. I think that fills that board up, does it not, Mr. Thurman?
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address these items? Roll call vote, please.
Sabers.
Yes.
Rice.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Charks. Aye. Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7, citizens input. If you need to address the mayor or members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken. Mr. Simpson, remember, you only get 3 minutes now. The mic not on? Yeah.
Check.
There you go. Now you're on.
Oh, no.
All right, start over, please.
Finally dangerous. I want to thank you, Mayor, and members of City Council for allowing us 3 minutes of free speech. I asked the Daily Republic for Equal Inc. to respond to the op-ed they published last week where the mayor said I was being inaccurate and inconsistent regarding a land and house purchase west of Lake Mitchell, and that was declined by the paper. I can't respond to all the points out of respect for the rules of this body, but I would like to make a few short points tonight. First, those who help me understand my errors are not my enemies, but I regard as friends. I am only human. I did not come here for a fight. Second, I will stand behind my points that the city spending over $4 million on land and a house will impact the pocketbooks of the citizens of this county one way or another. I will add a new argument to that point from those who say that once the city buys the property, it comes off the property tax rolls, thus increasing the mill levy on the rest of us. This not only impacts Mitchell taxpayers, but also those of Davidson County and the Mitchell school districts who are outside the city limits. Third, I agree with the goal of doing what is feasible to clean up Lake Mitchell. I respect those who believe that buying the land will be the solution. If that land is of such great public interest, then the proper approach would have been implementation of eminent domain. That would have taken the house off the table, and the current owner of that land would be a moot point. We could then have taken the time to determine the level of public benefit of that land, and then determine what would be a fair price to both the landowner and the taxpayers who will be paying for it, all in a much more transparent manner. Fourth, I agree with Gene Staley that farmland is a legacy and not a dollar sign. For South Dakota, that legacy includes our European ancestors leaving the oppressive feudal system and gaining ownership and control of 160 acres of land. Today, we are leaving behind that legacy, have partially reversed course, and are now slowly moving down the path to serfdom, where we don't own farmland and thereby have little control or rights. I thank the mayor and the Daily Republic for providing an example that confirms the accuracy of what I've been consistently telling the citizens of this city for over the last few years. That includes my credibility being questioned to protect the agenda. But still, I will continue to consider the truth to be far more important than my popularity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the council? Okay.
I got one quick thing. I've been approached by a couple people, about the house, the Kelly house. If we end up with getting that, if they want to talk to somebody, who should they talk to?
I think for right now, until we get it all finished out, closed out, we know whether or not we're going to be able to go forward with the purchase. Take their name and address, and you can give it to me or myself or Stephanie, and we'll keep them on record and be able to talk to them once the thing closes out, if we are fortunate enough to have it close out.
I've had a couple people approach me also, so that's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know who to, I wasn't sure what to tell them, so.
Well, at
We'll
this
have to wait
point,
until,
we can't start anything yet because we don't technically have the property. So until we have the property, we won't be able to do anything with listing it or look at resale of the house for any reason yet. So, but that's good to know. I mean, that's very good information to have, and we'll be happy to discuss it with them if and when we close on it.
I guess I had just a little bit of follow-up, Mayor. I'm sure I understood this, but I want to make absolutely sure that when we're moving forward and working with these other associations and applying for the different grants and the different opportunities to receive money that the city would not have to pay for design or the actual wetlands and so forth, it is owning the Kelly land advantageous for us? That was my understanding, that with having that land, we were able to apply for more grants.
It is advantageous for us. We do have the ability to get matching grants up to obviously the amount of the money we've spent on it, which would be a minimum of $1.6 million for the land that we're buying. We intend, if we get this land, to replat where the house is, to remove or make it smaller. Right now, the house and the outbuilding sit on, I believe, 41 acres. We would pare that down to roughly 10 acres or something like that, and then the remainder of the land would also add dollar value to what we're spending, which we can therefore take in and get matching grants for also. So yes, we expect to get at least matching grants for what we spent, and perhaps a little bit over that, depending on how it all shakes out in the applications and the process and what grants we find. Right now, we know through Ducks Unlimited, we've had a lot of conversations with them, and there are matching grants through NAUCA, I think they call it, although I can't tell you what that acronym means right now. It's water conservation of some kind. So yes, we do, and that would also help, obviously, in the lake and the watershed cleanup and give us another sum of money towards getting this work done in Lake Mitchell. Anybody else wish to address council, or any members of the council wish to comment? Okay. Item 8, hearing and action on the application of the following alcohol license applications. On the application to transfer retail on-sale liquor license RL 19079 VV Inc., doing business as Suds, 508 and 510 East Havens, Mitchell, South Dakota, to Potters Plus Studio Limited Liability Corporation, 100 North Main, Mitchell, South Dakota, and on application of VV Inc., doing business as Suds, 508 and 510 East Havens, Mitchell, for a new retail on-off sale wine license. Video lottery is excluded.
Public safety would have no opposition. They have met with us. Is this going to be an active or inactive license?
Come on up. State your name, please.
Chris Knipe, I'm the attorney for Potters Plus. This is a Nissan Diner. It's going to be inactive right now. It's just going to be parked at Potters Plus, and then once the location's obtained, then it will be transferred.
Okay, thank you.
And this is liquor or wine?
This is liquor.
Liquor. Yep.
Okay, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 9, authorization to use remaining 2018 funds in 2019 in the amount of $11,566 for completion of the Recreation Center locker room remodel.
This is the second phase of our locker room remodel and our roof project. There was funds remaining in there because there were some things that didn't get done in 2018, and so everything on the list was budgeted already. we just weren't able to get them done in 2018, so we're asking to get those done here in 2019.
I just want to clarify a little bit. The council had already previously approved the locker locker remodel project, but Nate was the Park and Rec Department was just holding back to make sure to see where the 2018 budget was going to end to make sure they still had the cash available as well. So before him proceeding with finishing this project, because we don't do our supplemental appropriations till the first, probably about April, we thought we'll just bring it in front of the council again to make sure you're aware of what's going on before, since it'll happen before that appropriation hearing.
So this will be, it'll be on the appropriation deal, but with this action, they can move forward now?
Correct, because you had already previously approved the project in 2018.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Chark, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Mayor, before we move on to item 10, can we circle back to item 8?
Yes.
We had two separate applications there. Can we do a separate motion to approve the wine
sorry.
license?
I took it all as one, because it's all under one item. Okay? So we need to do the second part, video lottery excluded part, or do you want me to reread them both?
Just the second one.
Just the second one, that V and V.
Okay.
And we would have no opposition on that one either. We've met with them.
Okay.
So Suds is selling their liquor license but applying for a wine license.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
without lottery.
Oh, okay.
Attached.
Okay. Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay. Item 10 now. Action to award bid for Sanborn Phase 2 and Phase 3 reconstruction, City Project 2019-22, and Bridge Rehabilitation Project 2018-22B.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is for the Sanborn reconstruction project. Again, Phase 2 and Phase 3, along with the bridge reconstruction that includes our big grant. The city advertised all three in this time for Phase 2, 3, and the bridge. The bids were opened at 1:30 on Thursday, January 17th. The bids were reviewed by our consulting engineer and our bridge design engineer as well. And we've determined that the city and staff, as well as the consultants, recommend award to Phase 2, 3, and the bridge at this time to the lowest qualified bidder, which is H&W Contracting.
Okay. You need to speak to it, Mr. McCormick?
We didn't quite get as competitive bids as I would have liked to. They were a little higher than what we were anticipating. But we are seeing a little bit more of that trend in other recent bids. But we did get good contractors. We're excited to go forward with them. You know, BX is part of the low bid that did all the work last year, and H&W is the underground contractor, and we've worked with them a lot in the past.
Okay, I was going to ask, what do we know about H&W?
We work with them a lot of other projects. They've done other work for Mitchell. They did the part of the Port Spain project out by the wastewater treatment plant a couple years ago. They did the underground water last year on Burr.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So,
just for the record, Jeff McCormick, SPN.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. And this is all concrete?
Yes.
We ran into a little bit of increase on the bids, and I know that this is a little more complex as far as the sequencing of events. We have roads that are open and need to remain open while others are closed. So that, in conjunction with the deep bore that goes at the end of First Street, I think really increased the mobilization estimates.
In awarding this finishes out Sanborn. This is 2 and 3 as well as the bridge.
And the timing of the bridge will remain open to two-way traffic while the bridge part is being done, but when we close First and Sanborn, then
Right.
the bridge, there's no place to go, so
Then the bridge can be closed.
the bridge can
Right.
be closed. but-
The only time that the bridge can be closed is when the First Street intersection is closed due to the Sanborn reconstruction
Okay.
project. If the bridge work needs to continue in front of that or behind that, they'll have to maintain that traffic. Right, Eric? Yeah.
Okay.
So, and the reason we wanted to bid it all together so that they had that opportunity, to me that seems the best time for them to do the bridge work and to get the most favorable prices for that portion of it.
And bidding to one contractor obviously gives us an advantage. They're in control of both the bridge and Sanborn Phase
Makes
2.
coordination a heck of a lot easier than if you have two different contractors.
But there will be two contracts to make it clean because the bridge is part of the big grant.
Right.
Right.
Another positive that was discussed about awarding both Phase 2 and Phase 3 at once is the contractor's going to have a lot more flexibility working with Public Works and SPN if the construction timelines need to be altered at all due to spring weather or winter weather. So if you have a really good construction season, perhaps it can go farther. If it's a bad season, you can determine a better breaking point because they're responsible for both Phase 2 and Phase 3.
So will the road be closed then for a full year, or at the end of the construction season, will you then open that up, or how's that going? I know that we're paying for one mobilization, so how does that logistically work?
At the end of the first construction season, the whole road will be open, and then they will tear into again the next construction season. We won't have the road closed through the winter months.
Okay.
So I was looking at the numbers here, and H and W on the
Yes.
Phase 2 came in under, and then if we move to Phase 3, first of all, I'm assuming it's not advisable to take a low if it's different contractors.
Right. It has to be an aggregate, so you add up everybody's bid for all the phases and the low person.
So you can't take the low on
Nope.
2 and the low on 3. Okay.
No, you'd end up with a nightmare trying to coordinate that, let alone everything else.
Okay, I figured
It
that was the
ended
case.
up working out really nice here because H&W and BX are teamed with one and they're teamed with the other one. But we wrote it with the idea that having one contractor so that we could coordinate all of those phases.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it was the specifications for the bid were the low aggregate of all the combined bids.
Oh, so that's why on this one for the bid A and B inclusive, the complete contract is slightly under H&W, but when you put the bridge
in with it, right?
Yes.
Right.
You could go the bridge in Phase 2 alone if you wanted to, but we would end up we believe not saving any money in doing that, correct? Because we'd have to go back and
Because actually, Phase 3 in the aggregate bid was more competitive than Phase 2. So you're taking a risk by rebidding Phase 3 because it could come in higher than where we're at now because Phase 3 came in close to the construction estimate.
Closer.
So you're taking the increase on Phase 2, and now Phase 3, your cost could go up because your price per unit of the other materials could go up.
Correct.
So I don't think the risk is worth seeing that potentially go up in the third year, and you lose the benefits of having the single contractor coordinating the entire project.
Just one more, just so I got it clear. I had a guy call me today on, he's got a business that we did in front of his last time. The bridge, it'll partially be open heading south,
The bridge will be closed when we're working on the First Street intersection.
but otherwise it'll be open.
Otherwise, it'll be open.
So what's that, a month or so? Or?
Right, a month and a half. I think we got to specify a number of days. 30, 40 days, I think is, yeah. So they're going to have to do some work leading up to that. That First Street intersection will be open. Then they'll close that to do the First Street intersection. And then once they're done with that, well, they can continue on further north at the same time. But they have a specific number of days that First Street intersection can be closed.
They have to close that because that's the deepest part of the storm sewer.
Right. We've got
to get.
We're gonna have a big hole there.
They're going to do that first, I assume, probably.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll start at the creek and work up that direction.
Down
so
that
that'll
way.
be towards the first part of the summer.
It goes Edmonds to First, and then First to Sanborn, and Sanborn North to get the drainage in. And the deep stuff is all at the creek. So, and working its way back. Shallowest is up by Subway, which still isn't very shallow.
Right. Well, it's a big pipe. So
I recall when we were talking about this initially, there was concerns about dumping that storm sewer water into the creek.
right. Yes.
And this guy who lived along the creek said it's been flooded. Without this, now we had all this more water. Have you addressed that issue at all?
Yeah, and we provided a response to Kyle, and the bulk of it is, if you look at that drainage basin, the peak moment when the flooding hits that area, it's quite a while after the storm hits, and the small amount that we're going to contribute to that overall percentage is done and gone before the bulk of the water is coming from the rest of the watershed. Yes. And the overall acres that we're adding to this basin, most of the water that we're picking up and taking that way was actually going over towards Raleigh in that direction anyways. The only area that we're really picking up is just that right in front of Subway in that area.
Was there any need to expand or take out, widen Dry Run Creek?
No, we're not. With what we're adding, as the storm increases, we're way down here in this part of the peak flow, so we're not going to see an overall increase in the peak flow through the river.
Okay. Because
our water will be done and gone before all the watershed's able to contribute to it.
Very good. Okay. Thank you. Further questions? That will entertain a motion.
Move to award H&W.
Motion by Mr. Allen.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this?
March start time,
I would guess yes.
roughly?
I would say end of March, first part of April.
So then
Depends what the weather
right after our
was.
April blizzard this year, we can get going?
Right, yes.
Okay.
Right in the middle of it. Yeah.
Right in the middle of it. It's got to warm up a little bit first.
The award or the motion should probably be contingent on the review of DENR, because they'll have to, because they're funding the project, they'll have to concur with your motion.
Go ahead and put that in.
Is that what I heard, Mr.
DNR.
Allen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and second to have the DENR.
All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 11, action to approve Agreement A 2019-04, partial settlement agreement with Pitts Corporation. Mr. Johnson.
I'll just try to give a brief overview on this issue. It's in relation to the indoor aquatic center that's was open last year. During the course of construction, there were a few issues with some welds and weld testing that developed, and some additional costs that arose out of that incident. Working with the architect, the testing agency, and Pitts as the general contractor, we were able to allocate out those additional costs, and this would be this would reflect the portion of that settlement that relates to Pitts. So if there's any questions, I can answer that, but
To confirm, the 8,952 is what the
correct. That'd be the
settlement number. That's what will be paid to the whatever well.
Correct. And Pitts wrote a check to us for that amount.
Correct.
We have settled with the other parties in the amounts that were recommended, I believe, by the architect. So this settles out Pitts' part. We've already agreed with MSH, Miller Sellers Thoreau, and we've already agreed with Core, who did the testing.
Move to approve agreement A 2019-04.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Chark, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Does anybody in the audience wish to address this? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 12, action to approve resolution R 2019-12, a resolution giving approval of certain sewer facility improvements, giving approval of issuance and sale of revenue bonds in one or more series to finance directly or indirectly improvements to the facilities, approving the form of the loan agreement and the revenue bonds, and pledging project revenues and collateral to secure the payment of the revenue bond, and creating special funds and accounts for the administration of funds for operation of the system and retirement of the revenue bonds, and providing for the segregated special order or surcharge for the payment bonds. Should have looked at the back page. I would have said as written.
Yeah. So as you can tell, that was written by bond counsel, that big long title. This is a resolution that's required by the process that we go through with the state in order to do the SRF financing for East Central Drainage. You held a hearing previously on the application for the loan. The loan was heard by DENR and the project was approved. This is the next step to pass. From here, you will go through another, I think we have one more public input session on it, or one more public hearing process on it. The first resolution, 2019-12, that is for, I believe, the drinking water. Am I right? Let me look here.
2012 is East Central Drainage.
No, they're both East Central Drainage.
Oh, okay.
One is for the, this is for the sewer facility improvements, excuse me. I did include a copy of the original project that the council reviewed during the budget process for 2019. This was the original estimate that we did when we looked at the drainage concerns in that area. There was an area that was identified for outside of the TIF and then an area identified inside of the TIF. You have to do the work outside of the TIF first because that's where the water will flow when it's done. That's where the new outflow pipe goes. In reviewing that project, there were some additional areas that were added by Public Works, and there's a good map here that shows that, I believe. And part of that is to address the aging water infrastructure, and Kyle can speak to that better than I can. It's also the area of concern where we were getting concerns with rusty water, so we're repairing all of those while we're in that area. I guess, are there any additional questions? This map shows what's being replaced and repaired in what areas. The two resolutions that are necessary is because the sewer facility improvements are done in the clean water application, and that's also where a percentage of that also goes towards the watershed work that the city had applied for as well. And then the second resolution is for the drinking water facilities. The improvements that are occurring under the sewer facilities are part of that surcharge that would be dedicated for the repayment of those bonds. By doing that, it goes into the 10% debt capacity versus going into the city's 5% debt capacity. And the reason for it is because it's it qualifies for that when it's an improvement that is serving the entire population versus like a drinking water line that's going to a few customers. The city has done similar projects when you did the BY water connection and a new water tower as well. And Kyle could probably speak to those improvements outside of the TIF if you have any questions.
Well, I know there are going to be a lot of people that are happy that we're doing this, so it's great news. I would like to move approval of, I'm trying to get to that very long thing. Yeah, Resolution 2019-12.
Don't you want to read it back?
No. Oh, thank you.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Chark, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience wishes to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 13, action to approve Resolution R 2019-13 as stated on the agenda.
And again, just another issuer resolution that's providing the required documentation that's needed for the state to apply for the loan to finance the drinking water improvements in that project area.
Can you show that map again of how large that is? Because I think that is pretty impressive that we're picking up all that drainage. Because that's going north and south of Havens.
Right.
Yep. Correct.
And if you want me to, I can show you that total project again, because we did
Yeah.
have the in total project.
I believe that area ponds pretty well right now.
Oh, I didn't have the map of it though.
Yeah. The actual drainage area goes
Yeah.
up to Norway and over by Dakota Wesleyan, and so we take water from all that area. It all right now flows down about to where Clockworks is and backs up, and so actually even over on the other side of Miller, I believe, close to the county jail, those areas. There you go. So all of that area in the purple, all flows to that area.
That's even picking some up south of the interstate.
Yep.
Is that even going on Burr Street too?
Part of it goes around Burr Street there.
That's where by K Street then.
Yeah.
Yeah. It used to be bad.
Yep.
Oh, part of that stuff on Burr Street, there's a right there where that light blue line is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a manhole that interconnects between the two of them, so it can actually flow to the east or down towards the drainage basin that we're referring to. There's kind of an overflow location in there. But it was part of the evaluation when we were working on the study.
Well, that purple box there in the middle, is that the...
That was at the time we were looking at some potential detention pond areas.
Over by that church.
Right, and there, I mean, there's still some that are in place. I mean, there's the one down by Dakota Wesleyan's field house, and actually that one there, I think there will still be one there when all those townhouses develop.
Done.
Yep, they have one as part of their master plan as well.
And just as a reminder, the main thing that we're improving is these areas of red with the new outflow pipe. Correct?
Yep. The areas of red is where we were seeing identifying the problems. And this first phase of the project is to get up to that TIF boundary. So this is all the area outside of that TIF district that was established. And just to refer to the question that was earlier regarding Dry Run Creek, all of this area still goes to Dry Run Creek now. We're not changing any of the drainage basin that's going to that location. We're not picking up any new areas to take them there. There's already pipes that are going that direction.
Hopefully it just gets there faster.
Right, gets there ahead of the major storm.
The surge. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
You have to go around.
Or
Oh, I'm sure it is. I think so.
Sure, you come across the microphone when you give directions. I'm just teasing.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve R 2019-13.
Motion by Mr. McCardle.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion?
So, real quick, what's the next step? What's the timeline after this?
We're finishing up plans right now. We'll hope to have them off to agencies for review in the next few weeks, and then hopefully be able to bid it the next month and a half.
So before April?
Yeah. Yep. And then construction to start this year. We are, based on some of the results that we're seeing from other bids and where contractors are, we will probably open it up to construction this year with the ability to work next year if needed. But again, finishing everything to finish asphalt this construction season. But if you went back to that map that was color coded and kind of broke up, this one works pretty well. It's that the contractor can pick areas that he can get done within this construction season. and also work with areas for next construction season
Okay.
if need be. Yeah. So I mean, there's easily ways that this project can be phased for them to meet the schedule. This doesn't have the extreme deep sewer like we do on Sanborn. It's not quite as complicated, so we do expect to get more competitive bids on it.
And the other thing that we should mention is the reason for having to get this done this year is that we are in that 5-year window with the Clockworks TIF, so we need to get this outflow pipe done first so that you can do the work farther south in that drainage basin area and still have the TIF paying off that debt from that project.
Okay. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 14, action on resolution R 2019-14. A plat of Lot 1 of DN and K in addition to the southeast quarter of the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 36, Township 104 North, Range 64 West of the 5th Prime Meridian, Davidson County.
Okay, this plat was presented to the Planning Commission at their last regular meeting. It is just outside our zoning jurisdiction, but it's within 3 miles. Basically what they're doing is in that lot, they're widening that out. They're going about another 104 feet to the west. And my understanding is so that it makes the parcel 25 acres, which would comply to the county's zoning regulations. So, because they have a rule about a 25 acre. So that's basically what they're doing. It's moving it a little bit further to the west.
Move to approve.
No, here, okay. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Rice. Basically what happened is at one point, this is the land that the city's looking to buy, okay? At one point, for some reason, that east property line, this one,
yep,
was moved out into the hay field or alfalfa field about 40 feet. And they discovered it after we started discussing this. So they asked that they be allowed to move it back. We don't have any problem with that. It's not going to impact us any really. So it doesn't. It's not even an acre worth of land, and it cleans up the borders of what they had. It, as you can see, it will now move.
Basically,
It'll line up with this. So it'll go straight up from here. It'll go straight up to here. So it's about a 40-foot strip of land right there. Okay. Cleans it up for us, cleans it up for them. It keeps it pretty much puts us on the edge of the alfalfa field versus 40 feet into the alfalfa field. Okay.
and like I said, too, then it also will comply with county zoning regulations so that they don't have to go through that process.
Okay. Anybody in the audience wish to address this? Any other questions from council? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 15, second reading on ordinance O 2019-01, trees and shrubs chapter updates. Mr. Powell, do you want to address this, or are you going to?
Yeah, I don't have anything to add from our discussion last time, and I don't know if there's any questions.
I did read an article that said that the extreme cold may have killed some of those babies. Is that true?
I think it's wishful thinking.
I haven't heard. I saw that article, but I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Well, let's hope it did.
Eternal optimist I am.
It does a better job than the pine beetle. It didn't kill many of those little buggers.
Move approval of ordinance number 2019-01.
Second reading.
What?
Second.
On second reading, yeah. Move approval of second reading.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Stark, second by Mr. McCardle. All those, anybody in the audience wish to address this? Further questions from the council? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Item 16, motion to adopt the ordinance. Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? Roll call vote, please.
Dosher.
Aye.
McCardle.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Sharks.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 17, second reading of ordinance O 2019-02, an ordinance that changes the zoning district classification of the real property legally described as Lot 9, Block 7, Raleigh's First Edition, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, from neighborhood shopping district to R2 single family district.
I have not received any additional comments since last night, so just to refresh your memory, basically how it came about was we discovered that this was neighborhood shopping right where the blue was. It's R2 to the east, and so they want to use this for residential property and for financing purposes as well. And the Planning Commission did recommend approval.
Move to put on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 18, motion to adopt ordinance O 2019-02.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Chuck, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? Roll call, please.
Allen.
Aye.
Sharks.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle.
Aye.
Motion carries. Executive session, motion to enter an executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 125-23, legal.
Motion to go to executive session.
Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to discuss it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. No action will be taken after the executive session.